Hi everybody, it's Amy from Winterwood Studio, and today is going to be a really fun day here, or at least I'm going to have a lot of fun filming this video. Today I've got my swatch book, and I've got my old palette of all my Daniel Smith paints. I have the two watercolor brands that I first started learning with, the Mission Gold and the ShinHan watercolors. And I've got my giant box of all my new watercolors from my last art haul video, the watercolor art haul. We're going to swatch everything. I'm going to sacrifice a sheet of my Arches watercolor paper so we can actually see what these do, and we're going to compare them all and see what we think. So this is like a giant watercolor comparison, swatching, just fun video, and we'll have a chat while we do it. So come on in and let's get swatching. Okay, you guys, who's ready for the big watercolor battle? So up here, this top row, from here to here, these are all the new watercolors that I got in my last art haul. And then I'm going to swatch all these. The Daniel Smith were really just for fun, but I wanted some more greens. But I started thinking, well, let's test them all. Let's compare them. So I've got the new ones from here to here. And then, so here are the Schmincke watercolors. I got these super granulating because I wanted to try them. And then I got the Wan Brilliant Dark. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And they didn't have this in a tube. I prefer tubes, but I got the little pan and the Ruby Red Deep. So I got this buff titanium, which is what I have my Daniel Smith buff titanium, which I think might be comparable to this. And then I wanted to mention something here too, before I got any farther. So the Daniel Smith paints, if you look at them, they all have the name of the paint, but the actual pigment number. And then they have, that's weird. Oh, there it is. Yep, they do. So this is light fastness 1. And this is a light fastness 1. Okay, so they do have the light fastness on here, but they also have the pigment numbers, which if you're like me and you nerd out over the art supplies, I actually look at the pigment numbers and, sometimes do research and stuff on them. Let's see if I have the one here that I'm thinking of. But I took the opportunity to make some tea, and it's a rainy, it's the middle of May, and it's supposed to be 80 next week, but today the high is 46, and it's raining and cold, and it feels more like fall than spring, so yeah. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, I was talking about the light fastness and what's on the tubes. Okay, so yeah, so they have the light fastness, but also the pigment numbers on them, which is really helpful. The Sennelier also have the light fastness and the pigment numbers on them, and so do the core. The Winsor and Newton Professional and the Schmincke do not. And then here I have two of the ShinHan, the very first watercolors I ever started using, and then the Mission Gold, which is what I upgraded to before I went to my Daniel Smith. So they have light fastness on them, but theirs are, I can't find any information on the internet what rating standard they use. So like the rest of these all use the ASTM, or they use the blue wool, which is I think more European than the ASTM. I don't know for sure. But I've Googled it and spent hours looking, and I can't find anything. So if anybody does know, please let me know. Drop it down below. The ones in the ShinHan were all, the set that I have, were all rated either a 2 or a 3. And then the Mission Gold, they must go up to 5, because this one is a 5 and this is a 2. They also do have the pigment colors on these tubes. And did they have them on here? They did. But none of their pigments matched up with what I have. So like this is quinacridone rose and this is quinacridone rose, but Daniel Smith uses PV19 and the Mission, oh, it is PV19. Which one confused me then? Okay, so these two should be fairly similar then, because they're both PV19. So that'll be a good test, and that's what I was doing here. That's what I was getting to. So up here we have the light fast on the Schminckes are stars as well. I don't remember what rating they use, but I did look it up, and they use one of the two. But I can't remember now, because it's just that kind of day. I didn't want to get out of bed this morning, neither did my kids. We've got 2 weeks of school left, and it's been a long... These have the pigments on the side. This one didn't, at least not that I saw. It's been a long year. Okay, I'm really excited to try these. So, to the best of my ability, I have matched up some of the Daniel Smith colors that might be comparable to these, so we can compare them all. And I'm going to sacrifice, like I said, a sheet of my Arches paper just to be really fair. And then I also am going to do some swatching in my new Painter's Color Diary. So, we've got the emerald green from the Sennelier and the light, the cobalt violet light. This emerald green matches up almost perfectly to this new Daniel Smith, the phthalo green yellow shade that I didn't have. So these should be a good match up here. This one I couldn't find an exact match to. This is PR122, and that, by the way, PR122 is a pigment that had previously been rated not very good for light fastness, but all the new research is showing that it actually is probably very light fast, and that rating might be wrong. So that's why I like to keep up with like the actual pigment numbers, because that's good to know. So this has actually 3 pigments in it: PV16, PR122, and PW6. And I couldn't find any exact matches to it. This one looked a little dark. I don't know. I mean, this is not going to be the same pigment. So both of these are PV19, by the way, in case anybody was interested. I'm not sure how they get different colors from the same pigment, but they do. So I thought this one might be similar to that, or maybe this one. Again, this isn't exact. I'm just working with what I have. So here's the dioxazine purple. Now this one I do have exact matches, including, I think, the pigment numbers. Yes, these are both PV23 and both very light fast. So this will be interesting to compare. And then this is quinacridone magenta, and this is quinacridone magenta. But if I remember correctly, the pigments aren't the same on this. No, they're not. This is PR122 and this is PR202. So this has PR122 in it, and so does this, although this has other colors in it. So that'll be a nice comparison between those two. And then over here for the Winsor and Newton, we have the aqua green and the Scarlet Lake. And again, these do not have the pigments on them. Just double checking real quick. I had to get my reading glasses because it's just so small and kind of reflective. So, you know, I could be missing it just because it is so small. Oh, this one does have it. Pigment PR188. So do I think this one might be a good match? The Pyreline Red? I mean, it could be kind of close. We'll test that too, just to see. I'm also going to be swatching from my tubes of Daniel Smith and not my dried palette, just to make sure everything is fair since these are tubes. This is aqua green. Oh, see, this is the one I checked and I can't. Yeah, so it says pigment phthalo. And there's no number or anything like that. It doesn't say green shade, whatever. So I don't know what this is. It just says pigment phthalo. So that is why I got confused. So this one has a pigment number and this one doesn't, for whatever reason. But the closest, I thought maybe this one would be close, because it's quinacridone coral, and this looks kind of like a coral color. And then I thought these kind of looked close, but they're probably not, but they're close enough. And then here we have quinacridone permanent rose, and this is quinacridone rose. And are they the same? They are PV19, so that'll be a good class check there. I don't have any of the pigments that match up with this, probably because this one isn't light fast. I mean, I don't know. It's a 2, so I don't know. And then, like I said, these ones don't have pigment numbers on them. No, they do have pigment numbers on them. Okay. Okay, so these do have pigment numbers on them. Oh, that's right. They're different. They're like PR63:1. They're a little bit weird, so I don't know exactly what that means. Okay. To the best of my abilities, I picked colors that I thought were similar, if not exact matches. And we're going to be doing a whole lot of swatching. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I lowered you down so you can see a little bit better, and what do we want to do? Okay, the first thing I would like to do is try these super granulation sets and see what happens. So this is the Shire set. I have Shire Blue, Shire Olive, and Shire Green. And these all have a 5-star light fastness rating. And let's see what happens. Let's start with the Shire Blue. Start by wetting a little patch here. That's a pretty color. Very pretty. Okay, so there's the Shire Blue. Do the green next. And then the olive. I'm already thinking this Shire Blue might be one of my new favorite colors. That is just stunning. Okay, let's paint a square for the green. Let's pull my sleeve up so it doesn't drag in there. This looks like a nice spring green, very pretty. These are going to be great for doing backgrounds. Okay, so there's the green. And now let's do the olive. I'm doing big patches of these because I really want to see what their granulation is like. And it can be hard to judge from small patches. But we're not going to do such big patches for all of these colors. Because Arches paper is expensive. But I did want to give them a fair judgment, so. Okay. So there are super granulating colors from Schmincke. I'm going to try to stay somewhat organized here, but I'm kind of a messy artist. I don't know if you guys are. Everything just gets sort of thrown everywhere I'm working, which is weird because, like, if I'm cooking, it's not really like that. I clean as I go when I'm cooking. And, like, you know, I don't know. I can't explain it. All right. Now, where's my smaller brush? Why don't we move into the other Schmincke colors? So let's start by unwrapping this. I'm planning to do, so I have my Daniel Smith palette. I'm not sure if I want to just keep everything Daniel Smith in that palette, or if I want to mix in these other colors with it, or if I want to have a separate palette that is like colors that aren't Daniel Smith. Oh, that re-wets beautifully. Okay, so already with this one, I see a huge difference between this and my Daniel Smith paints. I don't know if it's just that one pan. I don't know if, like, I dried the tubes out, what they would re-wet like. But I can tell you that it is much softer and gummier than, not gummy because it was luscious and felt nice, but it takes work to re-wet my Daniel Smith palette. So that was very interesting. If you have used the Schmincke and let them dry out, could you leave a comment below if they're all like that or not? Because that could be a game changer. Sometimes it's really hard to, I just squeezed way too much out of that one. Sometimes it's really hard to re-wet my paints, my Daniel Smith paints. Like, I have to wet them and let them sit for like 5 minutes and swish them around a little bit. And so let me know. Oh, that's pretty. Very pretty. That is a beautiful color. That would be great for painting roses and stuff. Very pretty. Okay, so those are all the Schmincke ones. All right. Let's see. Let's do the core next. So we're going to start with the dioxazine purple. And I think what I'm going to do with this is then do the Daniel Smith dioxazine purple, and I don't know, I mean the pigments aren't the same for the Mission Gold and the ShinHan, but we'll do those purples down below as well too. Very pretty. Oh no, I got a drop in my red. Alright. So this is their dioxazine, right? Yes it is. So let's do the dioxazine with the Daniel Smith. And like I said, I'm using it directly from the tube because I want it to be fair, since all the rest of the paints are from the tube. Okay, so that is the core versus the Daniel Smith right there. But that core one is pretty. It has almost more of a warmer hint to it than the Daniel Smith. Let's do the bright clear violet from the Mission Gold. So now one thing I do want to mention about this one is whatever they used is not as light fast as these two. So be aware of that. It does not have, what is carbazole? 23. Does this even have any 23 in it? No, it does not. It has 22. So whatever is in this is not as light fast. I don't know what their rating is. It was a 2 out of 3. I just put way too much water in there. That's not fair. Here. Let's try to dab some of that out so it's a fair test. Okay. So I can tell that this, even just right out of the tube, is not quite as pigmented as the other two brands, but it is pretty close. I do still think this is a good medium priced watercolor for, especially if you're just getting started. If I had to pick between that and the ShinHan or ShinHan, I would pick the Mission Gold. And I think Margaret Morales, one of those watercolor artists that I mention a lot, uses Mission Gold, or did use Mission Gold. I think that's where I heard about it in the first place. So now we're going to try the ShinHan. And none of these pigments are the same as any of the others, including the Mission Gold. So let's see what this looks like. And again, this is a less light fast one. I don't know what theirs go to. This one goes to 5. So it's a 2 out of a 5. It's not going to be very light fast. These only had 2s and 3s in my... Okay, right away I can say the ShinHan is much warmer than the other two. Much warmer. And probably even a little less pigmented than the Mission Gold. So those are the dark purples. Now let's do we'll start with the core quinacridone magenta. Oh, that's pretty. Is this one pretty light fast? They usually, the quinacridone, oh yeah, it's the PR 122, I remember now. That is beautiful. That is a very pretty pink. I'm not sure if I have a pink that pretty in my Daniel Smiths. It's very clear and bright, almost like an opera pink. Very pretty. All right, let's find my quinacridone magenta from Daniel Smith, which is not the same pigment, correct? No. Okay, so let's try that. So clearly much more purple and less pink in the Daniel Smith. So you know what, before I get any further, I'm going to label these just to keep things organized. Here is my Daniel Smith palette. I just want to see if I have anything that's sort of like that core pink that I somehow missed when I was searching through things. No, I don't. I do not. Maybe possibly this Rose Madder Permanent might be so similar, and I do think I have that one out. I do, because we're going to compare it with this. I could just do it now. Let's just do it now. So, Rose Madder Permanent. This is Quinacridone Coral 209. Let's just, I guess we'll do under. No, that's not the same color either, is it? That's a much more, so this is like a cooler pink, but not purple, and this is more of a purpley pink, and this is more of like a coral pink, just like it says. Okay. Alrighty, now we'll move on to the Mission Gold, which is Quinacridone Permanent Rose. So let's do this. We've got Quinacridone Rose, and we've got Quinacridone Rose. Why don't we compare these two? Okay, now we'll do the Mission Gold Quinacridone Rose. See how that compares. One thing I can say right now is that the core and the Daniel Smith are totally dry, and the Mission Gold in this column is still very wet, and the ShinHan is damp but not as wet as the Mission Gold. I'm not sure what's up with that. We'll see if it does the same thing here or not. The Schmincke is also really wet. Maybe, I think they both, well, the Schmincke has honey in it, right? So maybe the Mission Gold has honey in it too and it takes longer to dry. Okay, so that's the Quinacridone. And these are they the same pigment even? They are the same pigment as the Daniel Smith and the Mission Gold. Let's test the Crimson Lake from ShinHan. And again, they didn't have similar or the same pigment, so I couldn't pull the exact pigments, but it looks similar, so let's test it and see what it looks like. This is rated a 2, just so you know. It's a nice deep red. Remember, I accidentally dropped a splot of water in this one, so it's going to have a bloom in the middle there that I didn't intend. SH. Okay, so we tested that. Alright, now coming back up here to the Schmincke, let's test the buff titanium, which I thought would be maybe comparable to the Schmincke. Whoa! Oh no! Here, maybe I can... I don't know what happened there. Let's see if I can get it in here. Okay, well, I saved most of it, so it's alright. Boy, some of these need to be refilled. Well, I don't need to squeeze extra for that then, because I can just... Okay, so let's just scoop a little of this. I'm going to wet it first. And we'll scoop a little of this buff titanium out. So yeah, they're not at all the same color. This almost looks more like a putty color. It's a little pink there. I must have had a little pink still in my brush. Try to wipe that out, because that is not accurate. This color over here, almost a greenish puttyish, is more accurate. So I can definitely say I'm enjoying this color here. Okay, and then I think I thought maybe these Pearline Red or Pyrrole Scarlet might be similar to the Schmincke, so let's test those. So we tested the core. I might not have time to show the swatching in the swatch book. Maybe that should be a separate video. DS Buff. Okay, so this is the, I forgot already which one I put over there. I think it's the Pearline Red. So let's compare this. It does look a little similar to the Schmincke Deep Ruby Red. Although I'd say this is warmer and this is cooler. I wonder if I could go back over that with some of the, since I bloomed it. And then we'll do the Pyro Scarlet, and then I might have to go wash one of these palettes out because they're full. This is almost an orangey red. Not at all the same. But it might be similar to the Scarlet Lake, so we'll have to try that. Okay. I think the next thing we'll do is add in the Sennelier down here and see how it compares with these other colors. This looks maybe similar to this quinacridone magenta in tone. We will see. This is definitely a color I don't have in my palette, or anything even close, I don't think. Is this Light Fast? It's a 2, so I'd have to check and see what that means. No, I don't have any colors close to it. So I just popped onto Kim Crick's website, and she does recommend this color. It's got a Light Fast rating of a 3 on the front. And she particularly mentions this color on her Sennelier post. And this is an absolutely gorgeous color. Gorgeous. Like, I'm in love with this. So this is definitely going into my permanent rotation. That is just stunning. I don't have anything like it comparable in my Daniel Smith. Alright, so let's try the other Sennelier. And I think I'm going to start it over here because I'm going to want to test the Daniel Smith. That's the same pigment underneath. And I better label this Sennelier so I know. Okay, there's a little separation in this one. A lot of liquid at the top as I open it. So this is the Sennelier Emerald Green. I don't know, maybe I should just put it fresh there. Yeah, there's some separation. That's the first one that's done that I've tried today. It's a pretty color though. This looks like it might be an opaque color. Very pretty. What's the light fastness on this one? Also a 3. If you're doing anything botanical, these two would be just beautiful for that. And the core quinacridone magenta is very impressive as well. They do seem to stay damp a little bit longer, the Sennelier. That must be, and like the Schmincke. So like right underneath that, we'll do the phthalo green yellow shade from Daniel Smith, which is the same pigment as the emerald green, although how it can be, I don't know, because it doesn't look like, let's just double check that. Yep, it's the same pigment. All right, let's see what it looks like. Okay. That's a pretty color as well. I don't think I have anything comparable to either of those in here. I do tend to mix a lot of my own colors, but yeah, I'm glad I got both of those. So, Sennelier. And then DS. Alright, and then... oh, let's do the Scarlet Lake, the Winsor and Newton right here. No separation. This looks similar to this Pyro Scarlet. It is a very orangey red. Okay, let's do the, yeah, let's do the aqua green from Winsor and Newton over here as well. Ooh. there's some separation in that one too. So those are the two so far that have done that. Yeah, this is more of a blue. Very pretty though. I could see doing like some, this Daniel Smith is blooming weird. Huh. It's weird. Wonder why it did that. Okay, and then just because they may be similar, let's do the cobalt teal from Daniel Smith underneath. Yeah, that's a pretty color too. That's pretty too. I hate to wash all these paints down the drain. That's why I like using the dry palettes, because I just let them dry and reuse them and I don't have to rinse them off. Okay, so those are all the new brands, but I have these 3 other greens from Daniel Smith that were new, that came in the haul. So I'm running out of palette space here. I want to see what these look like. So I will try to wipe this off a little bit. So this is the green gold. Oh, a whole lot came out. Stop squeezing out. I hate when they do that. Okay. Let's try this green gold. Oh, that's pretty too. See, this looks like it might be opaque, so that's something I'd want to... Oh, that gets a lot yellower as you dilute it. Interesting. Interesting. That's a pretty color, though. Okay, so we tried that. Now we'll try the... I did that one. Let's try the Hooker's Green. Please don't squeeze a bunch out. This Hooker's Green, was that? No. That's a mix. A convenience mix. And I just dropped a piece of towel in my water. Nah. Alright, and then this was from my colorful art haul. This was my iridescent topaz, and I have yet to try it. So let's try that on here too. Oh, it's squeezing out, squeezing out, squeezing out. Don't do that. I can see right on my finger, it's very iridescent. It almost looks like an iridescent gold. Let's see what it looks like. Ooh, that's pretty, like a gold, yep. Like a greeny gold. Very pretty. Okay. So I can see the Sennelier one is still wet here, and it's been drying for quite a while, so that's interesting. I'm looking for shine, this emerald green. Well, all of these are still pretty damp. The Sennelier is a little damp still too. Okay, so that was the watercolor battle. My thoughts. I'm loving the Schmincke Super Granulating, especially this blue. This one might be a little bright for me. This one I could see myself using. I'm also very much loving the Ruby Red Deep and the Wan Brilliant Dark. This is going to be my new flesh color. It's clearly much more suited to it than this Buff Titanium. This Quinacridone Magenta from Core blew the Quinacridone Magenta from Daniel Smith out of the water. It's just much more vibrant. This one almost has like a muddy, purpley color to it that I don't like. This is very smooth and would be beautiful for glazing, as is their Dioxazine Purple. It's much smoother than the Daniel Smith Dioxazine Purple. I don't think this Dioxazine Purple was supposed to be granulating from Daniel Smith, but it is a little bit on here. As is this purpley color from Mission Gold, which is very similar to me to the Imperial Purple. Yeah, this seems very, it even has that same like pinky granulating out on the edges as the Imperial Purple from the Daniel Smith. I don't like how this one from ShinHan performed at all. It doesn't look good. I don't like that. But their purple was very nice, although that one I think is not light fast at all. The Quinacridone Rose from Mission Gold is performed beautifully. Is that one light fast? Yes, it is. I stand by my decision and say if you're just getting into watercoloring and you don't want to shell out the big bucks, I say go for the Mission Gold. I think that is an excellent brand to get started with, just looking at these comparisons. The ShinHan pooled weird and dried weird, and there's some streakiness in it. Yeah. This color from Sennelier. So here are my winners from this. Let's do that. The colors from just swatching these that I love the most. These three from Schmincke. The Quinacridone Magenta from Core was the winner for the pinks, I think. The Sennelier is more of a purple, and I feel like that one is a winner as well. This Mission Gold, the bright clear violet, is not light fast. Otherwise, I would say it would win over Daniel Smith for vibrancy, but the problem is the Daniel Smith is light fast and the Mission Gold isn't, and I wish I had put this Core on a little more thickly. I think that if I had, maybe Core would have won out over Daniel Smith for the Dioxazine Purple. Their Quinacridone Magenta definitely won over the Daniel Smith, which is surprising. Looking at the Daniel Smith Rose Madder Permanent, which is Quinacridone Coral, the Quinacridone Rose from Daniel Smith, and the Mission Gold Quinacridone Rose. I'd say the winner there is the Quinacridone Rose from the Daniel Smith. That's my favorite out of those colors. Between the Quinacridone Coral and the Quinacridone Rose from Mission Gold, which is a little more similar in tone, but still not quite the same, I might have to go with the Quinacridone Gold from Mission Gold. That's rated a 5. It's pretty pretty. I'm not super impressed with this Winsor and Newton Scarlet Lake. I feel like it looks muddy. I'm not really enjoying that one. I would pick the Daniel Smith Scarlet over the Winsor Newton Scarlet Lake. I would. I don't like that. It looks muddy to me. The Sennelier, what color was that? That was the emerald green. I must have labeled this one wrong. It was supposed to be phthalo green. Out of these greens, the Sennelier wins. This is a beautiful, gorgeous light color. I think it's beautiful. It would be beautiful for botanical work and glazing where you don't want blooming and whatnot to show up. The Sennelier wins from here and here. This one dried weird. Oh, it's still not even totally dried. This is the Daniel Smith Phthalo Green Yellow shade. This Winsor and Newton Aqua Green is a beautiful color. That one I would recommend from them. Very beautiful. Dried beautifully. I like this Daniel Smith Green Gold as well. I'm not super impressed with the Iridescent Topaz. So, my final thoughts. I mean, I've used lots and lots and lots of Daniel Smith. I think they are a great brand. They've been my core brand for, years now. But it might be time to branch out. I am very impressed with the Core and the Schmincke and the Sennelier. Would I take a risk on the Winsor Newtons? I don't know. I'm not sure. They're good paints. If I was going to splash out and buy more watercolors, though, it would probably be from either Schmincke, Core, or Sennelier. In fact, I might, at some point, start getting some paints from some of these other companies. That's beautiful. Do I have any reds comparable to this red? The Pyro Crimson might have been close to it. So, who's the winner? I think it might be a tie from the colors that I have here. Obviously, I mean, I still love Daniel Smith. A lot of the they're beautiful. They dry beautifully. This Cobalt Teal is beautiful. This New Green Gold is beautiful. But I am very impressed with the two Sennelier and the Schmincke. Yep, I think I am. The Core is nice. I definitely think for purples and pinks, these two colors win over my Daniel Smith, for sure. I have never been super happy with the range of purples and pinks from Daniel Smith, so I guess I'm not too surprised. But those are my thoughts. So, here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm trying really hard to get my own website up and running. I think I'm going to scan this in and try to, so like the website's going to have like a gallery and like a link to some of the supplies I use, and it's going to have occasional blog posts, and eventually I'll try to get the shop up and running. But I think I haven't been opening it because I was trying to get the shop going, but I think I might open it without the shop and scan this in and put it up as a blog post so you guys could look at it up close. So if I do manage to do this before that goes up, I will link that down below in my description. And I had a lot of fun. I don't know if there's time to do the swatching in this. I might have to just do that separately. So we're having a lot of fun over on my Patreon. That is a weekly sketchbook club prompts provided by me, plus 4 free reference photos I take myself each month, and then private exclusive tutorials. If you'd like to join, everything is only $4, and you're more than welcome to join us over there if you'd like. And as always, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button yet, please do so. My husband, when we get to $30,000 saved, did say he'd build me a studio. So every like and subscribe helps push my video higher in the YouTube algorithm, which means more people see it, which means more YouTube ad revenue. So I hope you had fun trying all these watercolors, and until next week, happy creating!